Hi, I'm Renina Mentor of Sunshine Living, and today I want to talk about how I became a Black therapist in network. I say that jokingly because I've been seeing all these memes online about how challenging it is to find a Black therapist in network. And I have plenty of clients who claim that they were looking for a Black therapist, that they tried out other groups and other nationalities and ethnicities or races of therapists, and they really just wanted and needed somebody who they felt that they could relate to so that they could feel a little bit more comfortable, because the therapeutic relationship is a challenging thing. So I want to tell you the story of how I became a Black therapist in network in private practice. So the first thing is I started out as a kindergarten teacher. After getting my bachelor's degree, I initially was going to school to become a lawyer, and that it didn't feel right for me. It didn't feel like my purpose or the thing that I felt most passionate about. So after my bachelor's degree, I said, well, I know that I can teach, and I started teaching, and I ended up being a kindergarten teacher in South Los Angeles for about 3 years while I was figuring it out. Our purpose has a way of finding us when we are a little bit unsure. And so what ended up happening is in South Los Angeles, the children were coming to school after traumatic events. Like someone would get killed over the weekend, or there was domestic violence in the home, and the children were being sent back to kindergarten. You know, grandmothers would bring them back to school, even though there were really devastating things that they were experiencing or being exposed to. And so I, being a pretty compassionate person and wanting to be the best kindergarten teacher that I could be, would ask our principal, like, where's our school psychologist? Like, where's our team? Where's our team of people? Where's our team of people that are supposed to help these children? Because I noticed that, you know, as a teacher, it was really challenging to teach because kids could not focus. And it was sort of like, sit on the rug. That seems like a normal request. But children were having a difficult time concentrating, and they seemed to be acting out a little bit more. And so I realized that, you know, when my principal answered the question, that we didn't have a school psychologist, that we didn't have a team of people, that there wasn't a social worker on site, that, you know, many of the schools would share a psychologist and they would kind of bounce around from school to school, and that, you know, one particular child that came back to school, someone in her family had gotten shot and killed. And it was like, what? Like, there's no one here to talk to her, to help her through this. It was just devastating to me. And that began my process of figuring out how I could contribute in the world more. Being a teacher, I loved it. They did so much for me, and they were so amazing. They taught me a lot about patience. They reminded me to live in the moment and to have fun. But in the end, I ended up wearing so many hats, and I have so much praise and admiration for teachers today, not just because I used to be one, but because I know that as a teacher, you wear the hat of teacher, of nurse, of social worker, of psychiatrist, of doctor, of you're of, you know, a third parent sometimes. And there's just so much that a teacher has to do outside of just teaching. And at some point, sitting in an IEP meeting, I realized, and that's a meeting for, you know, kids when kids are having challenges in school, I realized that I wanted to go back to school to do more. And so that's when I realized I wanted to be either a psychologist, a school psychologist, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, something in the realm of helping children with these challenges. And so that's what I did. I ended up going back to school to get my master's in clinical psychology, to become a psychotherapist. It seemed to be the fastest route. And I did that. I graduated in 2004, quite a long time ago, in 2004 with my master's in psychology. And I was really proud of that. And so right after school, was done, I was super excited. And I started in community mental health, helping these same, groups of people to feel better and be better. So I started out as a child psychotherapist. And the first couple years were hard as hell. I had no idea that it would be as challenging as it was. I mean, in school, you learn about the theories, but they really don't teach you how you will be impacted on a daily basis dealing with children who have been molested and children who have been physically abused and neglected, and dealing with parents who have their own challenges and who are trying to raise these children. And it was more than I expected. And so within a couple years, by I would say 2006, 2007, maybe about 2006, I burnt out. I ended up leaving the field of mental health because sort of the last, month or so, right when I was considering leaving, there were just too many factors that I could not control. I was working for an agency, and I felt that they were doing some things that were unethical, and children were being molested, and there were reports being done on the agency. There was just a lot of things going on, and I just felt like I wasn't really contributing the way that I would have wanted to contribute. And so I left the field altogether. And there was a part of me that was really sad and devastated. And at the same time, I knew that in order for me to be the best therapist that I could be, maybe one day, I needed to step back. And so I started teaching. I was blessed and honored to work at the University of Phoenix. And I taught for them, and I did other side little hustles. The most important thing that I did is I worked on myself. And so I went to therapy. I read as many books as I could, because I just wanted to be better. I thought in the back of my mind that one day I would go back to being a therapist, but I knew that in order to be the best therapist, that I needed to be whole, that I needed to be able to heal myself. And so that's what I did. Didn't know that it would take 10 years, but here we are. So what I learned though is that really great therapists, they heal themselves. Really great therapists have their own therapy and are open to their own therapy. And that living your purpose means trying to figure out the ways in which you're going to share your gifts that feel authentic for you and feel the best for you. So after those 10 years, I did the impossible, which for many people, they thought that I would never go back to mental health. But I went back. So about 4 years ago, in 2016, I made the decision that I would go back to community mental health, and I was terrified. But I went back to community mental health, and I gave myself a very specific and I gave myself a deadline and goals. And I said that I needed to be in community mental health for 3 years. And in that time, I would need to gather all of my hours as a therapist. I would need to get licensed. I would need to research all the things and ways in which I could be the best therapist, and where would that be? I knew that community mental health was not for me because there's just so many factors that are, again, out of your control. And it just didn't feel like the best place for me. But I knew that I needed to do that in order to get my hours and become a licensed therapist. So in those 3 years, I worked in a pretty good agency, and I learned a lot. I was able to get all my hours and get a lot of great training and a lot of great supervision. And I was able to research like where I wanted to be. And I decided that I would eventually go into private practice. And so I knew that there were ways in which you can go into private practice, and I decided that I would eventually go into private practice in a group setting where we would have a business partnership, therefore that I could begin making money right away. Let's just be honest. So I also wanted to make sure that I had good self-care, and I also wanted to make sure that I would have therapy when I needed it, and all of those things needed to happen in order for this time it to be really me living my full purpose and not end up burning out again. So 3 years to the month, I finished my hours. And within about 6 to 8 months of that, I passed my exam. This process has been a very challenging process, but I'm just so grateful. Once I passed my exam, in March of 2019. And before my license was even in the mail, I was taking meetings with private practices all over Southern California. Not all over Southern California, but it felt like that. And so I ended up finding, I was offered a couple of partnerships, right? I'm in a couple of different locations, but I knew that even though I was going into private practice, I wanted to help people that look like me. I've been helping everybody, but I also wanted to make sure that I was helping people that look like me, because I know that there aren't a lot of Black therapists. And so I found a group practice in Los Angeles, and he offered, me a contract, and that's where I am. I am so grateful. I'm going to try not to get emotional. I am so grateful to be working with a Black psychologist in a well-established private practice. He's been around for 15 years. I work with all different groups and nationalities and everything, but there is a nice portion of my clients who are African American, of all ages, and I feel so blessed. I didn't know I was going to get emotional. This process has been long, obviously, but I'm grateful that I made it. And that I have spent so much time helping and healing myself so that I can give so much to my clients. The level of freedom that I feel being able to be in private practice, being able to help so many people that look like me is amazing. My clients tend to love me. My schedule is full. I'm making more money than I've ever made before, if we're gonna put that out there. I'm just gonna be honest, which is pretty nice. And it's just really nice when a client comes in and they say, I've been looking for you. I've been looking for a Black therapist. So it's pretty nice, to say the least. Word on the street, Black therapists are sometimes hard to find. So it's really nice. And so the message behind all of this is just never give up on your dreams. Everybody has gifts and everybody has a purpose. I know without a shadow of a doubt that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like I am doing God's work. I feel just blessed every day. I don't even feel like I'm working, to be quite honest. I go to work every day. Well, no, not every day. I work 4 days a week, and I don't work more than 30 hours a week. That's another part of self-care. We'll get into that later. But I just feel like I'm making a difference in the world, and I feel so full every day. Sometimes clients will leave on the way home. I'll shed a couple of tears because I'm just so grateful. I'm often telling my clients, thank you, thank you, thank you. They thank me a lot too, but I'm grateful, especially when I'm doing family sessions and I'm really helping a client through a really challenging thing. I just tell them that I'm grateful, that I thank them for allowing me to be part of their healing process. And I tell them that I understand, not just professionally, but personally too, because I've had my own struggles with anxiety, my own struggles with depression. And I'm finally in my life at a place where I could actually say the H word, that I am happy and grateful and blessed. So never give up on your dreams. Never give up on the gifts that you've been given. Just keep taking one step and one step at a time, and putting one foot in front of the other, and you'll get there. I have so many more things that I want to do, and because I survived this process, I know that I can do it. So that's how I became a Black therapist in network. This is